Here we go. Rocking and rolling, mate. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you
Stress,
for having
sleep,
me.
mental health. You've done everything. Writing.
Well, I don't know if I've done everything. I have a lot left to accomplish and a lot left that I want to do, but I would say that I've lived a very full life to this point, and God willing, I get another 40 or 50 years to crack at this.
So, how did you end up in the position that you're in now?
Wow. I started as a traditional human performance coach, strength conditioning, right?
Mm.
I was a college football player at a university called Texas A&M, and I was a pre-med major there. And one day, as a freshman, I saw that. Now, this is a long time ago. This is like the late '90s. There was a physiology lab attached to our weight room, and these people were coming out with these masks on, and they were doing all sorts of crazy stuff. I'm like, what is going on? And I was a walk-on, which means that like I wasn't full scholarship. This was an elite school, and so as a walk-on, you're always looking for ways to get better. You're looking for an edge. And I went to the head strength conditioning coach. I said, "What is going on here?" He's like, "There's a science to training," and I was hooked.
Mm.
And so graduated, went to the University of Arkansas, and it was during the golden era of sprints at the University of Arkansas. Tyson Gay, Wallace
Mm.
Spearman, Veronica Campbell Brown, like all these elite sprinters. Some of them won multiple gold medals. I got to work with them for a long period of time. So I spent almost 14 years working with Veronica and traveled the world while I was working in college football. And I got to see how the rest of the world was developing their athletes. And that's when I got introduced to sports science. It wasn't really a thing here in the US. And there's a whole reason for that, in my opinion. It's because we have too many good athletes. And so we weren't really concerned with how to develop them better. We were just like, roll the next one in.
Yeah.
And I guess my career really had a significant inflection point around 2011. I was invited by John Quinn to go down to GWS. They were a startup football team, and he just they wanted to do an information exchange to help. He was like, look, him and Gubby, who was the GM, were like, look, I was at Florida State, which was a premier football institution in the US. And they're like, look, we're going to get the equivalent of, I don't remember how many first round draft picks it was, but he's like, these guys aren't going to be any good for like 5 to 6, 7 years. They're just boys. They haven't grown up into grown men, and AFL is a grown man's game. So is there a way that you can help us keep them like a college environment? So we literally help them set up like a college system that's still in practice today.
Wow.
It's crazy. And I spent a month there with my wife, who is a PT or about to go to physical therapy school. And I almost took a job there. That's a whole nother story. And I came back and I convinced our head football coach, Jimbo Fisher, to use athlete tracking with our players. So we quantified the game of football for the first time. And it wasn't easy because it was raw telemetry data. It was just, the Catapult was at its infancy. There was no, the UI was terrible. And I ended up hiring a former NASA propulsion engineer to help me organize the data. And once we were able to get a hold of what the metrics were, I was able to say, okay, these are the things that matter. This is what's happening in the game. We were able to turn that into actionable recommendations to improve the way that we practice, the way that we prepared our players, and even to the way that we treated their medical needs. Long story short, we had an 88% reduction in injury the next year. Our team went on to win a championship. We were very talented, had great coaches, great players. We were just injured a lot, and we were really tired. And there was a lot of room for growth. And so I don't want to take anything away from our players and coaches. I mean, without good players, you're never going to win. And so my career really took off. I went on to be the high performance director at University of Kentucky. And I got really interested in whether I was working with an elite gold medalist who was a sprinter or a great football player. They all had this ability to adapt to physical and psychological stress really fast. And so I wanted to understand this, measure it, and figure out a way to duplicate it. And so we call this adaptive capacity. So Dr. Chris Morris was with me at the University of Kentucky at the time. He was doing research into what's called fluid periodization. I was studying how sleep impacts our brain's ability to adapt to stress. And we really just went down the rabbit hole on this. Ended up working in the National Football League, the NFL, stood up sports science at the Houston Texans. I consulted with a lot of organizations, and a couple years ago, I started getting curious, about the consumer market. You got all these people with wearable devices, but does it do anything? And the answer is no. Like, research demonstrates that wearables don't change long-term health behavior because it's just data. It's the same problem I had at Florida State, right? It's just a dashboard, does nothing. You actually have to know what to do with it. So that's when I started this company called Aim7. And we are turning wearable technology into actionable recommendations to help people build the capacity to adapt to stress, push back on burnout. And the way that we do that is through sleep, exercise, mental fitness. And then we give people very specific recommendations on what they need to do each day. So I'll shut up, but that's kind of long story short.
Wow. I completely agree with you're getting all this data. You got all these numbers, the stats coming back at you, and you're like, yeah, but what am I looking for? To a lot of folk, especially the everyday market, right? The GPP, the just everyday average Joe. Like,
Right.
it doesn't matter. Like, they don't even know what 100 kilos is, 220, 222 pounds. Like, they don't need to know. They don't know what it is. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's being able to decipher that code and, yeah, but how do you feel? I fucking hate it when people come in with all these watches like, oh, my heart beats at such and such. I'm in zone, whatever. I need to go faster. I need to slow down. I was like, bitch, take it off. Right. Figure out what those processes are telling you inside your own body, feel it out, and then be able to rudder adjust from there. Right.
Yeah. Most people don't have that interoception though. It has to be trained. Most people aren't in tune with what's going on, right? The best athletes in the world know why, because they're focused on it. It's a skill for them. It would be like you going and, I don't know, going to a literary club and you read some stuff and you're like, you have no idea. Well, because you're not trained in it, right?
That's me every
And
day,
then you
dude.
go and you go and you learn, and all of a sudden your prose gets better and you learn how to structure sentences and all of it. I'm going to push back a little bit on you on that, in the sense that people just don't know what they don't know.
Also true.
So, but once you're right, like once you understand and you actually learn. So I mean, this is common sense for us, but in our app, we actually ask people, we actually take them through a wellness questionnaire we've devised. Most people don't take 1 minute to actually think about how they feel. That was like a mind blower for me, of how many people were just like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. They considered a mental health check-in. And I started thinking about all the athletes that I couldn't get to fill this out, like 5 questions. No, 5 or whatever. And the average person is like thrilled to do this, because they don't, like, if you think about like a busy parent with 3 kids, like how often they take 1 minute for themselves? They don't. And if they do, it's doom scrolling and it's nothing of true benefit.
That complete disconnect from feeling and then understanding where it comes from is so rife. It's everywhere. It's most of us, right? But I think that's where, you and I have an opportunity to be able to educate, I guess, right? Whether it is through yourself, creating this wider spread. All right, guys, this is now the system in place. We can learn from this. Let's be part of this system. Or it's myself on the gym floor in front of people, asking those questions, the difficult ones. How do you feel? Yeah, but why? Why do you feel like that? Don't just give me, I'm all right. Don't just give me fine or good, like, because I can tell it's a little weird. Check in with yourself. If it is a no day, it's a no day. If it's a go day, it's a go day. All those types of stuff, right? And I think we do neglect it. And, whether we chase numbers or we try and smash ourselves in the face because we've only got 30 minutes to train and it has to be high intensity, otherwise there's no point in doing it. It's like, is that true? Maybe we gotta
Yeah.
like create that self-awareness, right? It's something that most of us, I'd say 99% is lacking, man. It's a real scary thing. It's like we're kids in an adult's body.
Hmm. I actually, you said awareness, and that really triggered something in me. Like yesterday, I was walking and I was looking at my phone,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, I'm not aware right now.
Yeah.
I'm living my life behind this phone. And it's something I've been very conscious of lately. And that's good, right? Like when you're aware, now you can do something about it. But yeah, most of us walk around like we're zombies. We have no clue. We're not checking in with ourselves. We don't have enough quiet in our lives to even know when to settle down. Um, I recently took a trip to the mountains with my family, and like, man, I just kind of, I don't know. I wish we could turn back time a little bit. How I'm 43, or I will be 43 here very soon. And I just remember a time when we were just a little bit less distracted.
Yeah.
And although this technology is opening a lot of opportunities for health equity and access to medical things and all this kind of stuff, it's like, are we creating problems that we're then solving? I don't know. We're getting really deep here, but these are things that I think about as I'm dealing with the average consumer, the average person walking the street, and the problems that they're experiencing. And ironically, I'm trying to use technology to help them.
Mm. It's a beautiful thing, right? It's when, great power comes great responsibility, all that, Uncle Ben.
Absolutely.
Um, but we can use it for so much good. But I think we think we have to be aware,
Mm-hmm.
and to your point, we do not know what we don't know. And surrounding ourselves with those people that will ask you the question to force you to see a different perspective, I
Mm-hmm.
think is very beneficial to us.
No question.
Why do you do what you do?
Um, I feel called to. I felt called. I mean, this is like I guess a personal thing, but I have a very strong faith, and right now I'm doing what I'm doing because I feel like I'm supposed to do it. Like there's like this gravitational pull. Um, Sometimes you're supposed to be, like right from wrong, right?
Mm.
Hopefully. Uh, yeah. I mean,
Most of the time.
people say there's no absolute truth. I think at the end of the day, everybody knows certain things are right and certain things are wrong.
Yeah.
We also have like this pull of we know we're supposed to be doing something. I feel like I'm called to help and serve other people with the talent that I've been given. Whatever that is, I'm supposed to use it to help somebody else. I'm also like driven, and I love to compete, and I love to build teams, and it's like before in sports, it was, great organizations have great talent, have good culture, people are aligned, and they're highly competitive and internally motivated. It's the same thing in business, and I'm really enjoying that challenge now that I'm the head coach, so to speak. Before I would just have to either sit there and like, yes, sir, I'm going to do what you say. And like, sometimes these people were total buffoons. Sometimes they were excellent leaders that you're like, yes, I want to follow. So another thing that I'm constantly challenged by is, can I be that person for our organization? Can I attract other great talent? All that kind of stuff. It's an exciting field to be in. And so there's two parts, like you're impacting lives within the organization, and then hopefully you're building a technology that gets market adoption and you can impact people that way. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Where is it going? Where do you want to lead this thing?
Um, it's really funny. In 2019, somebody was like, this is when the very genesis of this idea, somebody was like, hey, you should create a journey map for Aim7. That's the name of the company. And so I wrote down, I was like, what's a journey map? And he's like, go Google it. So I looked it up, and it's like basically this, like, what would the storyline look like? And I have this. It's in an Excel doc, and it's like this timeline.
Mm.
And it was like, okay, I come to this computer or this interface, it's like a square box, and I say, help me, like, the box is like, how can I help you? I'm like, you know what? My energy is really low right now. I don't feel good. And then it was like, then it would connect your wearable and ask you a bunch of questions, and it would spend about 5 to 6 days getting to know you and then it would create this personalized plan that's contextualized and personalized and ever evolving with you. And the person looked at this and they were like, this is impossible. It doesn't exist. Now, this guy, he's on our board, and he just had a very public exit to IBM. He's one of the best product developers in the world. And I essentially was articulating Chat GPT, but I didn't really understand. And I showed this to a teammate recently who's like, holy freaking crap. And I was like, I mean, we all dream dreams, right? Like, it's like, there's probably a lot of other people that have thought of something like this. But to let you know, like, to, where we're heading is like, everybody's really high on generative AI. Well, you can't use that in a responsible way unless you have a highly precise recommendation engine. Otherwise, it could hurt you. Like, if you went on Chat GPT and created a program, you're probably telling people, don't do that, right? Because it could hurt, you know what I'm saying? It could literally give you some really bad advice. But what if you have a very intelligent recommendation engine that's like modeled after your brain, right? That's highly contextualized to your evolving world. That's what we're building. And we have some exciting things coming out soon. Now, is this going to replace, strength coaches? No, I don't care about that world. We can make things more equitable. And we're using wearables right now, but we're skating towards a world where, we need a wearable. We think we can be there within a year. Think about this. You can go to a third world country. People don't have shoes, but what do they have? A phone.
They got phones.
That's where I'm headed in my brain. Like, how can we impact the world with this? And help people on the front lines of wherever, right? So that's kind of my grand, big, hairy, audacious goal.
What drives you to make it that big rather than just settling for helping people get some performance goals, helping some folk get a little bit healthier and a little bit better in their wellness? Mental health
I
is a
think
little bit more stable.
I don't know, for me, just a little bit better means if the bar is here, like, I'm like really high, like, if I had a coach that always said, like, he said, pursue excellence or pursue perfection, knowing that you'll never get there, but along the way, you'll find excellence.
Yeah.
So, like, if the bar is like ridiculously high and you're aiming for that bar, if we come under that bar a little bit, guess what? We've just done something amazing. But if I'm like, I'm just going to help people just a little bit, like, then it's like, I'm going to get them. Am I going to even get them better? Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense in my brain because it's the way my brain functions. Like,
Yeah, it's like you go win a championship. Well, maybe your team didn't have the talent, but you won 80% of your games.
Yeah.
you maximized what you had, because there's a lot of factors at play, especially in business. There's market conditions.
Yeah.
There's economic factors out of your control. There's political factors. Things can turn on a dime, and great companies go out of business. And I'm very well aware of that. But if we don't pursue something ridiculous, we'll never be able to achieve something excellent.
I love that mindset because it really strikes a note with me. If we shoot low and hit, you know what you're going to get. But if
Yep.
you shoot so fucking obnoxiously far into the future and so much progress and so difficult to obtain, and you don't do it, where do you end up? So much further than that original goal. And I find that ticks my brain and just goes, well, now it's unknown. Now there is no ceiling. If we're just running after that light at the end of the tunnel, fuck, we could end up so far into the future, so far into progress. Mate, I love it.
Thank you.
It's a fascinating concept.
Well, like Steve Jobs, we're the crazy ones, right?
100%.
But I'm attracting some really crazy good people. It's amazing, like when you, and I don't believe, I'm just going to just say this, I don't believe in manifesting things. I think it's the most ridiculous concept I've ever heard of. It's like, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to manifest $1 million. Like, okay. Did you see the Arnold Schwarzenegger Netflix doc?
The three-parter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good time. I enjoyed it.
Amazing. There was one word that stuck out to me, and I was making notes the whole time on this word. Every phase of his career, he said he had one thing. He had a vision. He had a very clear, vivid vision. That would be the manifestation part. But then what did he do?
Fucking worked.
He worked his freaking tail off. So if you're listening to this and you're reading the book, The Secret, like go burn The Secret and just go work. Like have a very clear, great athletes like Veronica Campbell Brown, who I'd work with. She would literally lay there for an hour and visualize every single part of her race. Wow. But then she would go work. Tiger Woods did the same thing. He'd play 18 holes. That stuff works, because then when you're in the environment, mentally you've been there before, right? Yeah. But you have to work hard, like really freaking hard. And then if you're fortunate, you can be successful, right? Arnold was genetically gifted, but we all know a lot of people that were genetically gifted that didn't turn out to be jack. He worked really hard. So, I'm actually working on something regarding that, like vision thing with Arnold. But yeah, that's how I see things.
I agree. Sitting around and thinking about it and staying on your couch is going to guarantee one thing: nothing's going to happen. Fuck all's going to
guarantee you diabetes.
Yeah, okay. Sometimes your win is making it to the gym, but guys, you've still got to put in the effort. You've still got to pick up that barbell. You still got to move around. You still got to do the work. I have an analogy of digging holes. Every day you got to dig a hole, but one day you might go out and it might be a shovel. The next day it might be a frigging bulldozer, and then some days you're gonna go out and you're gonna claw with your bare hands. But every day you're gonna go outside and you got to dig holes. It's just work, man. I think people are scared of it. I think the lack of often menial manual labor, the lack of it. People don't garden anymore. They got a gardener in. People don't chop logs. We got a central heating. People don't do whatever, right? It's like just fucking put some sweat equity into something. That's why I love the Bible, mate. Teachers taught me my blonde brain, blue collar. It taught me so many lessons that I couldn't even fucking fit into a a book, you know, the size of a house.
Mm.
But people just do work, and the answers usually come to you.
Mm.
Just do something. It doesn't matter what it is. Just fucking do something.
You ever read Chop Wood, Carry Water?
I have not.
Oh, great book.
Chop wood, carry water. Where's my
Yeah.
pen? Here it is.
Um, yeah, I just recently did a little post on it on I put it out on LinkedIn and Twitter about a samurai warrior. You should read the book. It's really good.
I will do. I will do. How do you manage stress?
You can't manage stress.
How do you deal with it?
Yeah. I mean, like, think about it. Like, did you manage COVID?
Fuck no.
No. Like, that's not something you can manage. You can adapt to stress. You can build the capacity to adapt to more stress with less cost. And there's like 5 basic pillars for this: sleep, exercise, mental fitness, nutrition, and fostering healthy relationships. The literature is pretty clear. If you hit those things at a specific threshold, you build the resilience and the capacity to adapt to more stress with less cost. The key is it's like, the right dose of stress and the right dose of rest.
Yeah.
And there's certain things that fill up this proverbial gas tank, and there's things that drain it. And the more that we can fill it, the more you can take on. The idea is to become more robust, right? That's adaptation. That's to do that, you have to adapt, and then you can build more capacity over time. You can't. It's a slow process, though. This isn't something you can just microwave. So sleep is really important. We can go into any of these you want to talk about, but each one plays a critical role in this process of building adaptive capacity.
I think that's beautiful. You need to be exposed to some stress first to be able
Mm-hmm.
to adapt to it, right? I think I think it might have been Goggins I was listening to, but it was like people are worrying about their recovery days before they've actually worried about their training days, right? It's like, yeah, like do some fucking training
Goggins.
first.
Be hard.
Stay hard, bro.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
man.
something like that. Like something came up anyway when I listened to it yesterday, and it was true.
That is true.
We're worrying about recovering from something that we've not done yet. Let's
Mm-hmm.
let's do the work first, yeah, and then let's figure it out. Let's figure
Mm-hmm.
out how to recover from it. And we can go again tomorrow. Maybe we're gonna take a day off. Fine, no problem. But we gotta be exposed to that stress first, right? And that's relatively controlled environment of the gym comes in. We're gonna actively expose ourselves to a bit of stress, a bit of anxiety, and we can then figure it out. Hopefully, when we go out into the world.
No question. I think that's a great point. You you can't adapt unless you've exposed yourselves to something. And I'm I'm a little fed up right now, to be quite honest. I'm embarrassed to say, like, there's all these like morning routines of like you got to go wake up in the morning and sprint and touch a well with your foot, and then you got to like jump in the cold tub. And one point I put out a video about what I do, and then I was like, I've took it down because I was like, this, like, that's what I do.
Mm.
But I don't do all, like, I don't have a cold tub. I have a shower in my house. I don't have a sauna. I'm in Texas. I just go sweat, I
Yeah.
do go walk in the morning, and I do certain things. I do get, like, my PhD was in sleep research, and yes, you need to get sunlight in the morning. If you don't, you're asking for a lot of problems. The quickest way to unhinge somebody is to put them in isolation in a cave. You're going to go insane, right? Like, you need sunlight, even that it's just, but I think it's been this whole, like, Huberman started out with like some really good things, and now it's gone into this just crazy over optimization world. And I think it's I recently had Dr. Kathy Goldstein on my podcast. She's a neurologist and sleep expert at the University of Michigan Sleep Disorder Clinic. She's brilliant, but super practical. And she was at this international conference, and they said that, like, she said we were kind of in this closed door meeting, but like people were like this isn't good what's happening, because they're making sleep unaccessible to people. Or like, just, you have to have all of these things to live a healthy life. No, you don't.
Mm.
Like, there's some basic, like, I could live in the woods and be healthier than probably most people in the city without my cold plunge and without the sauna and without the, you name it, all the stuff. Those things aren't bad. If you have them, great, phenomenal. I would love to have a sauna, but you don't need it. I don't know. I just think there's a lot of like this whole biohacking world, like it all makes me really upset. Cheapens science.
Mate, I'm right there with you, mate. Like, people worry about the top 3% and they've not even gathered the 97 yet. You know,
Oh, Alex, I'm stealing that one right now.
mate, I say it all the time, man. People come in and they ask me about fucking supplements. They ask me about whatever, right? I was like, don't fucking talk to me about that, mate. Like, how about you get your sleep down? Because I know you sleep 5, 6 hours a night. And how about you come in consistently 3 times a week? Because I know I see you every other week. You know, if we're not doing that, if we're not worrying about the 90%, 95, 97%, fuck you now, man. Doesn't matter about you. I don't know, Southeast
Yes.
Asian foot massage that's going to help you recover from something. I don't know, man. I'm like,
Your red light therapy
oh
and
yeah, dude,
seed
whatever, man.
oils and all this kind of stuff. Like, it's just like, stop.
I said, yeah, I'm like, oh, what do you do, Al? Dude, I come from a broke ass family, man. The way we recovered was we got up in the morning, we did it all over again. Like I was fucking it, man. Like, Jesus fuck, worrying about everything else. But brother, I got 3 questions then though.
Okay.
What's the greatest piece of life advice you've ever received?
This is just what came to my head. You asked, right?
I asked, you answer.
Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and all your
Mm.
strength.
Don't ever feel embarrassed to express faith, especially on
Oh,
the.
no, I'm not embarrassed. I just want to let you know.
No, dude. People can say whatever the fuck they want to me. That's all good, man. You have a
Yeah.
seat at the table and your voice will be heard. That's it.
Thank
You
you.
know. What's the worst piece of life advice you've ever received?
It's all about who you know.
Oh.
Yeah, I was told that as a young coach. This guy was like, if you want to make it in football, you gotta go drink beer with all these guys and blah 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 blah. No, like, it does help. Networking does help,
Yeah.
but be good at what you do.
You got to be good. Yeah.
Like, freaking be really good and make it so it's impossible for people to ignore you.
Mm.
But don't be a jerk at the same time.
Yeah. Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
That hit home, man. Be good, not that. Don't be a dick, part. Last question. What are the 3 words you would tell your younger self?
Be patient.
Wow. Doesn't even need a third.
I'm sorry. Be patient, Erik.
Wow. Why?
Man, I was just so overzealous, and part of that is like what helped me climb the ladder, right?
Yeah.
But I think sometimes I made some foolish mistakes, and didn't think through the actions I was taking, and I'm a flawed human being, but I think my heart was in the right place. I was definitely pursuing excellence, but I think I could have had a little bit of wisdom mixed in with that, with how I went about things.
Bravo. This has been a real fucking honor and a privilege, mate. I'm telling you this for a fact. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure to share from my heart, and I appreciate the good that you're putting out there. And please let me know if I can support or help in any way.
Dude, it goes both ways, man. Even if I gotta get on a flight to Texas, I'm in.
Let's go.
I've never been to the States, man. So put me in, coach. I'm here.
Let's go.
Throw it down, talk some shit. I'm game. I'll
Eat
let
some
you know if
barbecue.
I'm. Oh, hell yeah. I'll let you know when I'm around. We got to be planning some sort of a North American trip, man.
You got a warm bed here. All right.
Oh, I appreciate that a great deal, man. Thank you so much. All
You
right,
got it.
we'll speak soon, and I can't wait to see what you put out next.
Thank you, sir.
All right, you have a great day, man.
You too.
Bye, everybody.